Welcome back to Building Neuro Ninja. It's Andrew from Action Your Potential. Hope you're having a good week. So we've been looking at mental flexibility and we're going to introduce you to your mind's garden. Yeah, I didn't know that either. Our mind has a garden. It's where our mental flexibility is grown every day. And as we've looked at in previous Neuro Ninja videos, we are what we repeatedly do and think. And this is all about how our behaviours will affect the ability of a part of our brain called the hippocampus to grow new neurons and help build mental flexibility. It's incredible science. So remember, our prefrontal cortex at the front of the brain working together, the ventral medial, which does the emotional processing, the emotional reasoning, the initial response, passes that information up to the thinking part of the brain that cognitively reasons, think things through, come up with analysis and planning and apply previous models, links that also to this structure called the hippocampus, about level with the ears, that's involved in flexible emotional responses. It's also involved in laying down memory. So the PFC and the hippocampus work together to provide us with this mental flexibility, accessing the brain's previously stored models and running that up against sensory information so we can update our behaviour instantly to what's going on around us. Now, I want you to think about this place in the hippocampus, which we've only recently discovered in neuroscience, called the neurogenic niche, as your mind's garden. It's the place where learning and memory, mood, emotional flexibility, mental flexibility and resilience is built every day. And we have some impact on our ability to respond to the world. Sounds a little bit weird, but it goes back to that core idea in the Neuro Ninja first videos, which is the brain builds the mind. And if you've got a hippocampus that's producing lots of neurons, up to 700 new neurons a day, you've got more flexibility, because what those neurons enable you to do is lay down a memory or connect this particular idea, what's happening now, with a model that your brain's previously built to adapt to your mood, to flex your response. So adult hippocampal neurogenesis is a bit of a mouthful, but what it means is we've discovered in teenage brains and adult brains something we didn't think happened across the brain. Neurogenesis is the creation of new neurons. It happens when we're in the womb, when we're embryos, we generate billions of new neurons, but actually adult hippocampal neurogenesis occurs in the hippocampus. It happens in that part of the brain, enabling us to reflect our response. Our brain makes connections all of the time, but we didn't know it actually grew new neurons. So deep in a structure called the dendrite gyrus, you don't need to remember that, but look at where the hippocampus is. That is where this neurogenesis happens in something called the neurogenic niche. Neuro means neuron, genic means to create new, and a niche is like a little crevice. And that's where it happens. That's the mind's garden. But look at what we can do to support the mind's garden. Now, we know that inflammation in the body, now inflammation is, say you get a cut, like a paper cut on your finger, and it gets all red around the paper cut. That soreness, that is the immune system generating chemicals like histamine, trying to attract immune cells like white blood cells to fight off any bacteria that might have got in the cut. That's a good form of inflammation. But if our body remains in an inflamed state for a long period of time, stress, for example, can cause inflammation. Certain sorts of highly processed food can cause inflammation. If our body remains in an inflamed state, that can affect the whole body and the whole brain. We can feel tired, we can be grumpy, we can feel demotivated, we can beat ourselves up and have a go at ourselves, and we can feel kind of really sleepy and not great. We can feel, to be honest, a bit depressed, a bit anxious, a bit low. If we engage in the 12 rocks of well-being, it can help our body fight inflammation. If we eat healthily, if we exercise, we grow new neurons in that neurogenic niche. We look after that little garden of the mind. It gives us flexibility. But more than that, what's really interesting is if we see the neurons being made in the hippocampus reducing. So if a person's producing less neurons in the hippocampus, what we begin to see in terms of behavior is lower mood. They feel demotivated. They might feel a bit more anxious. They might feel a bit more low and depressed. And there's a link between, it seems, from the research, a link between the production of neurons in the hippocampus and flexibility, mental flexibility. That's why the 12 rocks are so fundamental. If we do those 12 rocks, we're supporting that mind garden. We're helping the brain health. We're helping on the left-hand side of this seesaw with healthy diets, with having a plan each day, with carrying out our 12 rocks, by doing gladden and gratitude and kindness, by managing our worries. We're looking after the physical structure of the brain, tackling inflammation, helping that neurogenic niche grow new neurons. We're not experiencing huge amounts of negative stress. We're not getting stuck in cycles of low mood and rumination, overthinking things. We're not becoming frazzled. That neurogenic niche, that mind garden, is the place where our mental flexibility, growth, responsiveness, learning and memory are built. And in the 21st century life, we can cause massive damage to that garden of the mind by not walking outside, not hanging out with our mates, not doing our 12 rocks of well-being, not doing exercise, damaging our sleep. That can affect our mental well-being. It can affect our mental flexibility. Your mind, my mind, everyone's mind is a garden. Your thoughts are seeds. Your behaviours are seeds. You can grow flowers or you can grow weeds. Key takeaway: your hippocampus grows new brain cells every day. That is called neurogenesis. New neurons increase our flexibility of thinking and response. If we produce fewer neurons in our hippocampus, we will experience lower mood, more anxiety and depressive thoughts. We can help our brain to grow new brain cells, change our mood, help uplift our spirit through doing our 12 rocks and reducing the body's inflammation. The hippocampus is that part of the brain that grows new neurons, that helps us form memory, gives us that emotional flexibility. And inflammation is a natural and important part of the body's immune response to infections, toxins and stress. But if we remain stressed and inflamed for too long, it can have damaging effects on the body and the brain. So the daily life experiment is to ask this question of yourself: how have you helped your hippocampus, your neurogenic niche, your mind's garden to grow new brain cells today?